Hey guys, this is Dr. Anand. I'm here with the next episode on how to make use of the rule engine node on KNIME to perform two other functions. So as you can see on the screen, I have a data from Kaggle which is very much related to the HR department. I have already uploaded the file I have executed so that I can show you the output table. What are all the different types of elements in the rows and columns? So these are all the employee data from an organization from United States of America. It has 10,291 rows, which means the details pertaining to 10,291 employees working in an organization. And all this data has been categorized on different columns, that is 8 different factors. So that's why you can see 8 different columns. Row ID, which can also be considered as employee ID as well. Second, we have department, and then we have sub department where the employees are working. Then we have the gender, which is again classified into male and female. Then we have the base salary. Then we have overtime work, which means employees who have contributed overtime for the production work in that organization, and that is calculated or that is represented in number of hours. Say for example, if you take fifth one, that is employee 5 has contributed to this organization by overworking for 456.68 hours. So that's how it has to be understood. And then we also have longevity, which is nothing but the stay of an employee in an organization for a longer span of time. So that also has been represented here in number of hours only. That is employee 5 who has been in this organization for almost 6,257 hours. If you want, you can convert it however you want, but this is how the real raw data looks like. And we also have some grades for the employees. So what are we going to do with this data? Let's classify the employees into two different categories, that is senior employees and junior employees. Fresher employees play a very important role in the organization, especially from the HR perspective. The reason is because onboarding and training is the first factor. So freshers need to be provided with a detailed orientation. They have to be provided with mentorship, training programs. So this tag will help the HR department to track constantly all the new joinees and support them when and where needed, which will also help in providing the best to them so that the rate of attrition will not be there. Second important point is performance. The environment is quite new. The job description which has been given to them is quite new. Organizational climate and culture also would be new. So expectation setting plays a predominant role for the HR department so that this will help all the freshers or the juniors to be more focused and to attain the goals of the organization as per the expectations of the top management. The third important factor here is retention monitoring. As you know that across the globe, a lot of employees are resigning. So it is leading to a lot of attrition rate. So new employees who have joined the organization are in a very high risk of attrition, especially within the first 6 to 12 months. Normally it takes at least a minimum of 1 or 1.5 years for anyone to understand about the organization and to gel with the organizational climate. If not, it might lead to a very frequent attrition. So that is why it is always important to classify the data related to the employees, that is junior employees and senior employees. So how are we going to classify that? So we have rule engine here, as you can see. Let me tell you how this rule engine works. As I told you before, it is the longevity also can be considered. Maybe if the longevity is equal to 0, then such type of employees could be considered as new employees. The reason why I'm telling about this is when you look into this raw data, there is this particular column which is called longevity. As I told you before, the stay of an employee in an organization for a longer span of time. So in 10,291 records, there are few zeros which can be seen here, right? It cannot be left just as zeros, but we need a classification there. So what classification can we give? So can we convert all the zeros into freshers? Yes, we can do it. So that is why, so any type of record pertaining to longevity, if it is 0, then it can be considered as freshers. Anything which is not 0, it can be considered as experienced or senior employees. However you want, you can do mention. So anyway, I'll be showing this to you, but still let me just talk about this function. So again, I'm using this function, that is question mark is equal to question mark, which is nothing but left is equal to right, which means if longevity is equal to 0, then this left should be termed as right, that is new employee. That is how it goes. I hope you got this function. Longevity is equal to 0, which means they should be categorized or considered as new employees, right? So that's how it goes. So how do we do this? So I'm going to the node repository and I'm going to type rule engine. I'm going to take this rule engine node. I'm connecting the file reader node to the rule engine node. I'm right clicking. I'm going to configure. And on my left hand side, you can see longevity. I'm double clicking that. And then I am going to this that is function, that is left is equal to right. So as I told you before, if longevity is equal to 0, then the function, they are going to be considered as fresh employees. Fresh employees or new employees, however you want, you can give the function. So append column as to junior employees, right? Or you can just mention employee level of employees. Apply, okay, right click, execute, and then look into the table. So yes, you can see, so level of employees, you can see it has been mentioned as fresh employees, right? Which means if the longevity is 0, which means that the employee has newly joined the organization and they are classified as fresh employees. So what do we do with the remaining employees, who have worked here for at least a minimum of 2000 hours and more, or more than 0 hours, right? Especially in the production department or certain industries, you can agricultural industries, you can see employees just getting into the organization and leaving. So the stay in that organization for a longer span of time is quite a very rare sight. So what could be the other function which can be given here? You don't have to change anything, but again you can reconfigure, and then you can try one more function stating that if the longevity is not equal to 0, or if it is less, if it is in between a range also you can give, then they could be considered as experienced employees. So this also becomes one of the predominant rule engine function. So let me meet you for the other functional explanations.